Hi guys, in this video let us learn what was the Pakistan resolution and what was the Rahmat Ali plan. After the ill-advised resignation of the Congress ministries, Jinnah had the free space, British backing and the Barelvi support to plan for the next elections. He had already learned that the path to Muslim support in a separate electorate setup lay through Muslim radicalization. The irony was the fact that the more radical sect, the Deobandis, were against him, while the supposedly benign Sufis under the Barelvi umbrella were fully with him. The phenomenon is mostly not understood by Hindus, who regard Sufis as peaceful and have no issues in praying at the dargahs of Sufi peers. The essence of understanding Sufism lies in one simple fact. Sufism is just a tariqa, or a different way, fully subordinate to the Sharia or Shariat. In any conflict between tariqat and Shariat, Shariat shall prevail. The only difference between the Deobandis and the Barelvis in this matter is that Sufis regard Prophet Muhammad as divine, the Nurul Allah, whereas Deobandis followed the line of Shah Waliullah that Prophet Muhammad was just a messenger of Allah and a human being. Shah Waliullah was one who invited Ahmed Shah Abdali and won the support of the Shia Nawab of Oudh, Asafuddaulah, and the Rohilkhand ruler Najibullah, who fought the Marathas together in 1761 at Panipat. He studied in Arabia with Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab and founded a sect that closely followed the Wahhabite ideology within the Hanafi school of Islam jurisprudence followed in the Indian subcontinent. Among the disciples of his son Shah Abdul Aziz was Sayyid Ahmed Barelvi of Rai Bareli, who went on a mission of jihad against Maharaja Ranjit Singh and was killed in Balakot in 1832. The Barelvis were under the influence of the Sufi peers and their silsilas. However, as explained, they had no different take in the matter of dawah or jihad. Many people deliberately spread the trope of the peaceful Sufi and the Sufi belief in Atman and the Brahman. All this is false propaganda because the notions of immanence of the divine were firmly negated and cruelly killed off by the foremost Sufi of all time, Al-Ghazali. I have dilated on this topic in many other columns and videos. Armed with Barelvi support and British indulgence, Jinnah began what was essentially a game of one-upmanship. He had his target cut out. Muslims had preferred the regional Muslim leadership over him in the provincial elections of 1937. He had to ensure that this did not happen once another election. He had to ensure that this did not happen once another election took place after the war ended. World War II had come as a great blessing for him. Congress had left a vacuum for him to exploit. And he was not one to let it go. Till then, his politics had been based on minority politics of Muslims in the provinces where Muslims were a minority. Now he had to play majority politics in the provinces where Muslims were a majority, by projecting the identity of Muslims as a national minority and not just provincial minorities. The Pakistan resolution was passed on 23rd March 1940. Here's a quote from a study. The study is by William Kessler Jackson, 2014, and it's called A Subcontinent Sunni Schism, the Deobandi-Barelvi Rivalry and the Creation of Modern South Asia, Syracuse University. So the study says, the Lahore Resolution was a clear-cut statement of purpose on the part of Jinnah and his party. As Hindus and Muslims were two different nations, the only course open to us, Jinnah declared. This is a quote of Jinnah's now. The only course open to us, Jinnah declared on the occasion of the resolution's passing, is to allow the major nations separate homelands. The goal was now an unambiguously separate, absolute independent, that is from Hindu India, Muslim polity or polities on the subcontinent. Okay, let's read this part again. As Hindus and Muslims were two different nations, the only course open to us, Jinnah declared on the occasion of the resolution's passing, is to allow the major nations separate homelands. The goal was now an unambiguously separate, absolutely independent Muslim polity, by independent meaning independence from Hindu India, Muslim polity or polities on the subcontinent. The quote-unquote, the Muslim majority provinces in northwestern and eastern zones of India should be grouped to constitute independent states. The resolution announced, now another quote begins, the resolution announced that in which the constituent units shall be autonomous and sovereign. Before this momentous resolution, the idea of Pakistan had been the domain of a small group, and the destiny of India's Muslims had remained a hotly contested topic, possessed of a long spectrum of opinion voiced by a wide variety of both secular and religious leaders. Post-Lahore resolution, however, an increasing number of Muslims appear to have been drawn to the League's view, simple and infinitely measurable aim. This trend continued despite efforts by the JUH, the Ahrars, Shia political groups and others to challenge the League's claim to represent all Muslims. In April 1940, for example, the JUH, together with the Shia political conference and the Majlis-e-Ahrar, organized an Azad Muslim conference, accusing the AIML of Muslim League of ignoring the real Muslim minority in the Hindu majority areas of India in favor of the Muslims who already enjoyed majority status in their respective areas. Jinnah responded that these minority Muslims would be minorities whether Pakistan was created or not. It was a choice between all Muslims under Hindu Raj or only some. The resolution was drafted by Zafarullah Khan and an Ahmadiyya and was embellished by a map of the subcontinent in the future, as fantasized and prepared by Chaudhry Rahmat Ali. It may be noted that this map conforms to the Islamic fantasy of having Islamic rule in the whole world. Both the Barelvis and Deobandis agreed on the larger objective of Islamizing the whole of the subcontinent. Okay. Only the methodology was different. The Qawmiyat-e-Muttahida proponents wanted to do it from within in the manner of normal proselytization, whereas the Barelvis wanted to follow Prophet Muhammad's Hijarat or emigration model, in which he went away from the land of Kufr, a great sin, and Shirk, idolatry, gained strength and through sheer willpower, deception and superior tactics in war and peace, won over not just Mecca, but went on to conquer a large part of the pagan and Christian world. The Barelvis called their strategy the Medina strategy, and Pakistan was to be the new Medina, which would be used as a staging post for conquering and converting to Islam the rest of Hindu India.